everybody, welcome back to Adventures of Spackmann. Today, we're looking at the StoveHut 70 by Pomoly. It is their newest hot tent that they just came out with. Stick around, see how it does. I was very surprised. Were you guys? Let me know in the comments down below. Let's get this tent set up and see how it does. I'm going to be using trekking poles to set this tent up. The first thing you want to do is stake out the four corners of the main body of the tent, and then we'll worry about the stove area and putting up the poles. These are the stakes they included. They're just regular shepherd's hook aluminum stakes that are octagonal. They got 6 sides to them. They're alright so far, but I did bend one on the first outing, so they're not very strong. Now that we have the main body of the tent staked out to the door opening side, Lila, I'm going to come over to the door opening side and pitch this up. Now with the pole positioned on the outside of the tent, you're going to take your guy out line and guy out the door entryway. Each guy line does have guideline tensioners on it. Now we're going to turn our attention to the stove section of this tent. It's recording, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now on the stove vestibule side of the tent, there's a door on the awning side. You want to unzip that so you can get your pole in. Now where your pole's attached to on the inside, there's a couple layers of fabric here. I feel like this should be reinforced more, but I don't. This is just how I feel. I haven't had a problem with it, and we'll see how it lasts with weight on it from snow. But now we're going to pitch this side. Once again, the pole goes on the outside of your bug net. Extend it up and it's pitched. Once you get the pole up, this vestibule has 2 guy out points on either end, and you guide them out.
Yeah, guide those out.
Now that the tent's all pitched up, we can go around and tighten it down. What was that? Remy! So now that it's all pitched, we can go around and tighten it all up and make it look nice. Over on this side, we got to guy out the awning part. Over here on the back side of the tent, there's these reinforcement sleeves that come out and need to get guyed out. Each one of them has an adjustable cord tensioner. And then the main vent. For this side of the vent and this guy out sleeve, you want to use the same stake so you have enough for everything. Same goes for this side. Now we have a guy out spot right here in the middle of the tent, and that will pull this side, giving you extra room inside. And now this side is completely staked out. Those are all the stake out points. So on this side we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 just on this wall. It's a lot of guy out points on this tent. I have yet to set up this awning, but I will be doing it during this test video. I had to go out and buy 2 hoses for this because I procrastinated and forgot about my hoses that were hooked up and they are frozen solid. So I'd really appreciate it if you give this video a thumbs up. Also, I bought this tent. I think it's $150 currently, and you can add poles for the inside for $15 and poles for the awning for an additional $15. I am using trekking poles, the adjustable kind, and they work great. Last weekend I used 1 trekking pole and 1 stick that I found in the woods. I just cut it to the length of the trekking pole after I pitched it, and it worked fine. I did put the stake bag over the end of the stick before I put it up into the crotch of the tent, and that worked fine. And you can do that anywhere you go. You don't need to buy the poles. Cut a couple sticks, and you're good to go. Make sure they're strong enough to support the amount of snow that you're planning on accumulating when you have this up. Otherwise, have fun with it. Now, the first time I pitched this tent, I noticed that the bathtub floor is on the thin side. Thought I had to be careful using it, that I didn't make any holes in it. And the first time I had it up 2 weekends ago, when I took it down, I ended up having puddles in this bathroom floor. I don't know where they came from, but there were 2 big puddles in this bathroom floor. And I don't think it was from the fog we had the night before. I don't think there was enough moisture in the air to make actual puddles. They were decent-sized puddles. I'm pretty sure I put some footage in here just a second ago. You saw the puddles. They were pretty big. So we're gonna water test this tent. That's why I had to go out and buy the hoses. I'm gonna hook it up, spraying this way towards the tent so that I can get in and out of this door with minimum getting wettage, because it's like 30 degrees out. We got a little bit of snow on the ground. It's not a warm day, so we're gonna try my best to keep dry. One of these corners of the bathtub floor seems like it's off a little bit. Let me pull you in here and show you. This one right here. It's the closest. It's one of the ones that goes to the stove vestibule. It's right there. You can see how right there it's just not sewn together properly. It's strange. I can't really explain what that is, but it doesn't look like it's sewn together properly. Because here's this corner. That one looks alright. That one looks alright. And that one kind of looks the same as that bad one over there. I don't know if they're bad or not, but I have a feeling where that light color is, that's missing some fabric, and that is just seam tape right there. I don't really know how I can test that to see if that corner's waterproof itself. I'm assuming it's not going to make much of a difference unless you get a lot of rain and you're sitting in a puddle of water, or you got water running underneath you like we had 2 weekends ago. And I think the puddles may have came from the floor. We're going to test that out. So hopefully enough water falls on this tent to make puddles underneath it, and we see if the bathtub floor is leaking or not. Or we find out if the tent itself is waterproof and if there's any leaky spots. I've checked this tent out. I stayed in it last weekend. It seems pretty good so far. I did find those 2 puddles, and I don't know where they came from, so we're going to figure that out today, hopefully. I wanted to show you what it looks like with the cot in here, just one cot. I have it all the way against that back door for the vestibule for the stove, and we have about 6 inches left on this end for gear. If you have a cot, you can use storage underneath it. If you don't have 2 people, you have plenty of room for gear in here. But with 2 people sitting with cots or even a sleeping pad, you're going to have minimum room for gear. There is a little bit of space outside of this awning area. I don't know how dry it would stay, but for stuff that doesn't matter, you do have that space there. And you also have the whole stove vestibule back there that you can put gear on either side of the stove that's not close to the stove and doesn't matter if it gets too hot. All right, so you know the deal. I'm going to set up the water. I'm going to set a time lapse for 1 hour. I'm going to check in halfway through at 30 minutes, see how it's doing then, and then I'll check back in after that hour. And hopefully it's not an icicle because it's freaking cold out. It's like really cold out. So let's get this water going and see if this tent's waterproof. See, it's just not fun to get out of. It's looking pretty good. Let's check it out. Got my tripod hooked up, new hose. There's water hitting the stove vestibule. Lots of water hitting this side. Looks wet already. Definitely lots of water hitting the ridge line. And lots of water hitting over here. Look at the rainbow. That's cool. Kind of want to go inside and see how it's looking on the inside. Hey guys, come with me. It was getting kind of wet out there anyways. All right, look at this. We got a homemade rainstorm going on. So far with the rain going for a couple minutes, it looks like we're dry. So right now, the walls on the inside are completely dry. They are not wet whatsoever. We should not have any condensation because I am not going to be in here. It's not hot enough outside to cause this water to evaporate and cause condensation on the inside. So we'll see at the 30-minute mark and after an hour if this stays dry, guys. Stick around, let's set up the time lapse and get it going. Don't worry, I'll fast forward through so it'll be over like this. we have ice forming down here on both sides. That's crazy. Got quite the puddle going on underneath it. It's an icicle. These are all icicles. Alright, this is the 30-minute mark. Going in to check it out. I think I found where the puddle's coming from. Let me bring you inside. Now this cot was touching right here, but it looks like this seam above the flap is leaking. It's coming down the mesh and then down into the bathroom floor. I bet you that's what happened when we got all the rain 2 weekends ago. It's happening over here as well. This seam right here, you can see it. Oh, you can actually see the water. I can see the water coming behind the seam tape and coming down here and leaking down into this corner. I really wanted this tent to do well. Water collected in the bathtub floor in a hot tent is not good for you. If you have a cot, you may stay dry because you're off the ground. But if you're sleeping on the ground on a sleeping pad, your pad's getting wet, your sleeping bag might get wet. That's hypothermia in hot tent conditions, right? I think I want to return this tent and get a new one and then test it again, which really sucks because it's cold out and it's only getting colder, so it's going to be harder to do these water tests. I can't tell you whether or not that's going to leak during a snowstorm or not, but if it's raining, that's leaking. I had puddles 2 weekends ago, and I just found out where they came from. I'm going to keep this test going, and we'll find out how big those puddles get. The rest of it looks good. So we'll keep this test going. We'll see how it does. I'll set the time lapse back up right now. I had to go out, and I'm just getting back now. It is completely a sheet of ice. It's been going for 2 hours now. Let's get inside and see how it did. Everything is frozen. This is crazy. Here is the puddle from the leak by the door. There's the door there. Here's the first puddle. It looks like these icicles may be helping it out a little bit, but now these are frozen. But it's still leaking. Coming over to this leak. Still leaking too. Oh wow. Let me show you all the water underneath this cot from it. There's like a trail going right over here from that one. Let's open up over here. Oh wow. You can actually see needle holes right here. And over here. And actually, it's leaking right here on this seam. It's leaking right down through here. Let's get out of this tent and wrap up this test video. Alright, so after testing this tent in the rain for 2 hours, and last weekend or 2 weekends ago, it was raining for about, I am getting soaked, hold on. And then last weekend it was raining for about 6 hours. Last weekend I found 2 big puddles in the tent, and today I found puddles in the tent. I thought there was going to be a problem with the top seam. Turns out it's that back vent seam. So Pomoly, you have to do something about that back seam. It's leaking. I don't know if it's just my tent or others have the same issue, but mine definitely leaks. So I'll be contacting Pomoly and I'll fill you guys in with my interaction with them about this tent and how it's leaking. I'll let you know how that goes, what our resolution to the problem is, and if I was satisfied. And let me know if you guys are satisfied in that video as well. Other than that, I think the concept for this tent is freaking awesome. I love how there's a separate vestibule for the stove. I wanted it for me and Remy because he's a dog, he's hyper. I didn't want him near the stove, so this was almost perfect for that situation. Currently, I do not feel comfortable having this out in any sort of moisture with freezing temperatures. So if I do end up using this tent and not getting a replacement that is waterproof, I will be using a tarp over top of it, which is sort of disappointing because you don't always want to trek in a tarp when you're supposed to have a waterproof tent. They are coming out with different versions of this tent. Will those be better than this one? Right now, I don't believe I can recommend this tent for actual moisture-bearing hot tenting because of those leaks I found. This is my tent. You might have different luck with yours. I don't know. But you can see what luck I've had with mine. If you like these sort of test videos that I've been doing, let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, I'll leave the subscribe button right here. Over on this side is the cheapest hot tent from Amazon test video. That one turned out very well, stayed dry for 28 days. Over on this side is a video of my DIY gear. Check those out if you're interested. Thanks a lot for joining me on this one, guys. I'll see you on the next one. I'm going to warm up.